Welcome to the Ohio River Valley District 2014 Grant Training Webinar. I'm Cindy Dietrich, Finance Manager for the Ohio River Valley District. All this, David said, I have in writing as a result of the Lord's hand upon me, and he enabled me to understand all the details of the plan. David also said to Solomon his son, be strong and courageous, and do the work. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord God, my God, is with you. He will not fail you or forsake you until all the work for the service of the temple of the Lord is finished. The vision you have, the dreams you've been given, are God visions and God dreams, and he will help you to understand all the details of the plan. He will not forsake you or fail you, but we have to be sure that we don't forsake him. Be sure to ask for God's guidance as you put together your ministry plan and grant application. The policy and decision-making body in the Ohio River Valley District is the Mission Foundation, a board comprised of 21 volunteers, 8 clergy, 13 lay members. In addition, the district superintendent and the assistant to the district superintendent are ex officio members without vote. It is the Mission Foundation that will make the final decision on all grant requests. Prior to going to the Mission Foundation for action, all grant requests are reviewed by the District Strategy Committee, and their recommendations are forwarded to the Mission Foundation. We'll talk more about the role of the District Strategy Committee later on. The Ohio River Valley District is blessed to have received generous gifts from individuals over the years. Those gifts have been carefully invested, and the earnings on them are available to help fund grants. In addition, the bulk of the grants, however, are funded with the Ohio River Valley Mission Foundation apportionments that are remitted by our churches. Over $360,000 is available for grants in 2014. Of that, approximately $15,000 will go to youth ministry spiritual development trip grants, $50,000 to Hispanic ministries, $100,000 to agencies and organizations, and the balance to local church grants. All of our grant forms can be found on the district website, www.orvunc.org. Once you're on the website, you'll see a banner across the top of the page directly below the water image. Click on Resources. A listing of related pages will appear on the right-hand side of the page. Click on Grants. The grant page will appear. Scroll down to the bottom of the page. There are 9 documents related to our grant process that you will need to print off. You can do this by clicking on the name of the form. Your computer may ask if you want to open the document. Select Open, and then print the document as you would any other document. Take a moment now and print those documents, as you'll want to refer to them as we continue through our training. The 14-question grant training post-test will need to be completed and submitted with your grant application packet. Projects for which churches are seeking funding must relate to one of the 5 fruitful practices. Agencies and organizations do not need to relate their project to one of the fruitful practices, although you certainly are free to do so if there is one that fits the project. The 5 fruitful practices are radical hospitality, passionate worship, intentional faith development, risk-taking mission and service, and extravagant generosity. You'll find descriptions of each practice in the document on the website. Over the past 7 years, the District Strategy Committee has worked diligently to refine and perfect the grant application process. We know that this may seem overwhelming, and we have made changes each year to the forms to make them more streamlined and user-friendly. It's not uncommon for us to receive in excess of 50 individual grant applications each year, and oftentimes the amount of funding requested exceeds the funding available by 200 to 300%. In order to make the best decisions possible and to be good stewards of the funds that individuals have left to the care of the district and of the apportionment dollars entrusted to us by your sister churches, the committee has developed criteria and requirements to aid in reviewing grant requests. These criteria, requirements, and even the questions on the application form itself are designed to help you not only write the best grant application possible, but also to be in the position to launch a successful ministry project. They are intended to be tools to help your ministry succeed. Each grant request and a church or organization may apply for up to 2 grants with a combined total not to exceed $25,000. Each grant request must be for a specific project. Grants are not there to augment the local church receipts or general income of an agency in order to meet general operating expenses. The project for which you are applying for funding needs to have a concise statement of vision, mission, and leadership necessary. Can you tell us what you hope to do, why you hope to do it, and what leadership needs to be in place to make it happen? If you can't tell us that information quickly and succinctly, how will you recruit support from your members and community? A timeline is critical for any project. Have you ever been like me and said you want to lose weight, but never gave yourself a deadline to do so? Without a deadline, there's no incentive to actually start the process of dieting or exercise that will be necessary for me to lose weight. Your timeline needs to include implementation and evaluation, not just the big event. One thing the committee looks for is the what's next step. How will you connect with your target beyond this ministry or event? The district will not fund more than 75% of the cost of a project. It is our expectation that the church will fund at least 25% from their general budget. This 25% does not include funding from other partners, grants, or in-kind donations. It is money specifically budgeted for the project or ministry. It can include what the church or organization pays for increased utilities, paper, etc., if you can document how you determined that figure. On the grant application form, question number 6 applies only to churches. Organizations and agencies may skip this question. Churches, you must be paying 100% of all apportionments or have a written plan to reach that level within 3 years. We require that you complete the grid on question number 6 so that everyone involved with the grant knows how your church is doing with payment on apportionments. After all, the majority of the grant funding comes from apportionments. To find your apportionment payment history, go to the West Ohio Conference website, www.westohioumc.org, and click on Stewardship and Finance. On the secondary navigation bar, you'll see Connectional Giving. Click there. Next, click on Apportionment Reports. First, you'll see the current year's reports. Choose the most recent detailed report. Once you click on the month, you'll get a report that looks like this. This is the report for the entire conference, and it is sorted by district. Scroll through the report until you come to Ohio River Valley, and then find your church. The churches are alphabetical within the district. To see prior years, simply scroll down and select the report for December of that year. Also available are reports that detail apportionment payment history, as well as membership, attendance, giving, expenses, etc. for each church in our district, starting in 1990 and current through 2012. We have placed these reports on Dropbox, and they can be accessed from the URL listed here. Type the URL into your web browser. The Grant Statistical Information page will appear. You'll see ORV 2009-1990 stats. Click on that. Click on Download at the top of the page. You'll now see an Excel logo in the center of the screen. Directly below that, you'll see a box that says Download. Click there. Make certain you maximize the spreadsheet so that you can see the titles of the tabs, and then go to the tab marked Graphs and enter your church number without dashes in the yellow box. Once you put the number in and hit Enter, the spreadsheet will automatically be populated with your church data. The District Strategy Committee receives an abbreviated version of this information for each church that is applying for a grant. They look at membership trends, worship attendance, giving, expenses, etc. If you know that the trends have had a significant shift, it will be helpful for you to include an explanation in the narrative at the end of the application. The committee wants to know that the church is aware of these situations and is addressing them. Let's go back to me and my weight. Over the years, I've been thinner than I am now, and I've been not so thin. If I look back at the skinny Cindy pictures and never look in the mirror, I might be skinny in my mind, but not in reality. Our churches need to take time to do honest assessments of the current realities and then draft plans to change what needs to be changed. These next two slides show you just a glimpse of what all is on this spreadsheet. You can also use the data that is on the yearly tabs to see how your church compares to others. When you have finished with the 2009-1990 spreadsheet, click on the blue back arrow at the top of the web page. This will take you back to the listing of available reports. You'll see that there are standalone reports for 2010, 2011, and 2012 statistical data. Click on the name to open the yearly spreadsheet. The standalone reports do not have graphing or consolidation capabilities, but you can find your church and read across the row to get the year-end data. We value partnerships, and we expect each church, organization, or agency to be in partnership with at least one other church, organization, or agency. A church can partner with an organization or agency. Question 20 on the grant application is where you will list those churches, agencies, and organizations that will be partnering with you in the project or ministry for which you are requesting funding. Partners do not have to be United Methodist, although that's allowable. Partners can include Free-Store Food Bank, Whiz Kids, local merchants, and so forth. One of the things that the committee looks for when making funding recommendations is, does the project enhance the momentum of a church or organization? Does it move ministry forward? Please note that there are very limited opportunity for funding of staff positions. In order to be considered for such funding, you must be able to demonstrate that you'll be able to assume the full responsibility of funding that position for at least the next 3 years. We don't want to put you in the position of having to let someone go because there wasn't a plan to assume that responsibility. Please also note that we do not give grants to purchase vehicles. The requirements that have been compiled by the District Strategy Committee serve to make the application process more manageable once you turn everything in. Remember, these individuals are reviewing in excess of 40 grants. Applications must be typed. We will not accept handwritten applications. If you've ever spent time trying to read the handwriting of someone you don't know, you know how hard that can be. Sometimes it's hard enough to read our own hastily written notes. My husband is a wonderful example of that. His name is Greg, but when he signs it, it looks like 911. Now I know that's his name, but when we first started dating, I had no clue. Please take the time to type it. The application form has questions enclosed in boxes. Please do not type in those boxes. Each question either has lines or a blank space for your replies. Use those spaces. Please do not type in bold, all caps, or underline every word. That makes the application very difficult to read. If you'd like to share a picture or two, please just put them at the back of the application packet. Do not embed them in the application. And 2 is more than enough pictures to share. We scan all the documents for each grant so that we can share them with the committee. And we're very aware of file size. Pictures gobble up space. The first page of the actual application is the checklist. This is your friend. Use it to be certain your packet is complete. Incomplete packets will not be considered for funding. If there are items on the checklist that do not apply to your request, for instance, the project or ministry did not exist in 2012 or 2013, so you don't have actual income and expense figures for those years, then simply put NA in those boxes. Note that you will need to return a copy of the completed checklist with your packet. That's how we know what to look for in your packet. Let's start looking at some of the questions on the application, and let me help you get a sense of what the committee is looking for. Question number 1 really is as simple as it sounds. We just want to know what you call the project or ministry. We're not looking for your vision or description of the ministry, just a name, so we all know we're looking at the same grant. Question number 2 is where you begin to introduce the object of the project. This should only be 2 to 3 sentences. You'll have more opportunity later to expand on your vision. Question number 3. How much funding are you requesting from the district for this project in 2014? It should be one figure, not the project budget, not an explanation of each cost, just the total you're requesting. Question number 4 is where you'll provide the total budgeted cost of this project, excluding any in-kind donations. It's the cash cost, including what you're requesting from the district. Let me tell you up front, if you can't come up with that figure, the committee will most likely have some hard questions for you around whether or not you're ready to launch. If you don't know what it's going to cost, remember, you have to fund 25%. So if you don't have good numbers, how do we know that the figure you're requesting doesn't exceed 35% of the cost? Again, this is just one figure. Question number 7 tells us where the ministry or project is located. Our district covers 5 counties, and in some cases, the ministry may not be in the county where the church or organization is physically located. Question number 9 is referring to funding for this project, or any support you received from the denominational channels other than local churches. If you have questions on whether or not certain funding falls into this category, please call the Ohio River Valley District Office. The West Ohio Conference Office may be able to help you determine if there might be additional denominational funding available for your church or agency. Whenever you are asked to provide data, please use specific figures and write goals as specific, measurable targets. Saying something like, we want to increase the number of children participating in our weekday after-school program is not specific or measurable. Saying we want to have an average of 50 children in our children's weekday after-school program by the end of 2014 school year is better. But it would be even more helpful to say we would like to grow the average number of children participating in our weekday after-school program from 15 to 20 by the end of the 2014 school year. That helps the committee see what work is ahead of you and helps them better understand the resources required to meet that goal. We ask that you research the demographics of the community in which you'll be doing ministry. And the best part is you can access that information at no cost. It's paid for with apportionment funds. Once you've gone to the website, which I'll show you in just a moment, print off the reports you'd like, read them, and then summarize them as your answer to question number 10. Please do not embed the reports into the application or include them as an attachment. What we're looking for is a few sentences that say, the neighborhood is 45% Hispanic, 15% Asian, 20% African American, and 20% Caucasian. The median income is that. You get the idea. Okay, you go to www.missioninsight.org and scroll down until you see Mission Resources for Local Churches. Click Register. Make sure you're under the purple box for local churches and not the blue one for denominational agencies. The next screen is where you'll start to create your own login. Click Register. The agency account number for the West Ohio Conference is SSQUJ. It's printed in question number 10 on the grant application. Type that in and click Submit. Next, select the city. There's a handy drop-down listing of cities, so if you're not sure, just scroll through until you find the closest one to your church. Then, plug in your church name, and then complete the information to make you a user. Once you're registered and signed in, you get options. You can choose any of the options on the list. Let's take a look at the second option. Create a demographic report using the report wizard. Here I've entered the address of my church. If your ministry is not taking place at your church, enter the actual address where the ministry will be based. I've also selected a 2-mile radius. The maximum radius is 15 miles. There are 4 different levels of reports, with more detail in as you move down the list. For today, I've selected the Quick Insight, and I've opted to have that as a PDF link. Here's the first page of the report. It shows me the area covered in the 2-mile radius. The next pages, which you are not going to embed into the application or attach to the application, give me an overview of education, ethnicity, age, household income, etc. You'll use the information found in the reports to answer question 10. Your grant application needs to be clearly articulate about how this ministry will change lives within your church or organization, how you will engage the community in the project, and what comes next. Note that for questions number 11 through 19, your answers are limited to 50 words or less for each question. So, when you answer number 11, don't waste words repeating what you've already stated in questions number 1 and 2. Tell us something you haven't been able to share yet. Many of the questions on the application relate to the goals you have set for this ministry. Over the past 7 years, this has probably been the weakest area in all of the grant applications. We just hate to commit to specific numbers. When we are specific in our expectations, we have a much greater chance of accomplishing the goal. I'm a list maker. I find that my day is much more organized and focused when I start with a to-do list. Now, not every day works out the way my list would have it, but it's easier for me to get back on track when the list is there than if I have to wonder what else I wanted to get done. Goals have to be measurable. Otherwise, how do you, the church, your board, your partners, and us, know that you've reached the goal? Here's my other tip about measurable goals. You need to make certain everyone is measuring the same data in the same way. Several years ago, my husband, son, and I took a road trip from Cincinnati to LA with no real plans. We just started driving. One evening, I told my husband we were going to drive until we got to Flagstaff and then stop for the night. Well, he was going nuts. It was going to take too long. We couldn't drive that much more. Now, in fairness, he didn't do much traveling until he met me. He was reading the mileage signs along the highway and adding them up. So if it said What's-its Town 100 miles and Flagstaff 270 miles, he has now determined that Flagstaff is 370 miles. Make sure everyone is measuring the same things in the same way. What makes a goal attainable? Pre-planning and continual evaluation as you move towards the goal. What's working? What's not? Don't be afraid to make modifications to how you're pursuing the goal. The objective is to reach the goal. Is the goal realistic? Are you not only able to work towards it, but willing to? I haven't yet been willing to work hard enough on a diet and exercise, so my weight loss goal isn't realistic from that standpoint. One of my passions at church is liturgical arts and worship settings. Now, I can't sew. My mother puts her sewing machine in protective custody if I even say the word sew. Even though I might be willing to sew banners, I can't. I need to acknowledge that it's not realistic for me to make the banners, but it may be realistic for someone else to take my ideas and sew a banner. We in the church often get trapped thinking that we have to do it all alone. Oh, no, we don't. Find those individuals who are gifted in areas that you aren't and work together. Goals need to be timely and tangible. We need deadlines. Without a deadline, we don't feel an urgency to move forward. When goals have tangible outcomes, it's easier to get our church members, our boards, partners, etc. excited about what's happening because now they can see it, hear it, taste, touch, smell it. It's real, and they want to be a part of it. Question number 12 is designed to help you articulate the church or organization's strengths and weaknesses in the area for which you are requesting funding. Do you fully understand your current situation? It's like me in those pictures of Skinny Cindy. Do I know that the pictures are not the current reality? What are you doing well in this area, and how can you build on that? What areas are a challenge to you? What will you need to move beyond those challenges? What are your plans to grow new, younger leaders? Who are you grooming to continue not just this ministry, but the full scope of ministry of the organization or church? How are you recruiting, training, and deploying new members and leaders? Question number 18 requires that you've thought through the very real possibility that we may not be able to fully fund your request. What happens then? Churches and organizations and agencies must have ongoing funding plans. In the church, we call them stewardship plans. We ask that you share with us your plans to sustain your ministry financially. Please be sure to indicate when your church last completed a stewardship or generous givers program. If you are struggling in this area, please contact Reverend George Cooper in the Council of Development at the West Ohio Conference Office. Believe it or not, the application is designed to give the committee a quick overview of your request. If there are still things that you need to share, you may attach an optional narrative. Remember, this is an option. These committee members are reading a lot of paper. To make the most of that narrative, do not summarize what you've already said. Take advantage of this to tell us something unique to your project or ministry, or something that didn't fit in any of the other questions. Remember also that you don't need to fill the 2 pages aloud. Only use what you need. Budgets are a must, as are 2012 actual income and expenses and 2013 year-to-date actual income and expenses. We are looking for both church organization budgets and actual income expense figures, as well as project budgets and actual income and expense figures. Budgets must include income. Again, do not embed budgets and financial statements into the application. Put them at the back of the packet. If you haven't finalized your 2014 budget, use your best estimate. If you're to the point of asking for money for a grant, you must have a sense that you'll be able to afford it and your other programs. Are you anticipating a 1% increase in giving? Are you cutting costs by 0.5%? The goal is for the committee to see how this project fits into your overall funding. Do not include in-kind donations as income or expenses. We are looking for a cash budget. For the overall church organization budget, we do not need a line item report. Use broad categories. For the project budget and reports, more detail is required so that we can have a better understanding of the funding request. Who is to be our main contact? Guess all the ways we can possibly reach you. Once the grants are received in our office, they are assigned a primary reader from the Strategy Committee, and that person will be contacting you to learn more about your request. They will be your advocate at the table. We require original signatures. Script font in Word is not a signature. The reason we ask for these signatures is so that we know there is support for the project. For a church, at the very least, the pastor, the ad board or council chair, finance chair and trustee chair, or the equivalents in your structure must sign the form. If you have someone else who is leading this ministry, then they should also sign. And if there is a significant partner in the ministry, then a representative from that organization should sign. We have moved away from accepting email or faxed grant documents, as the data makes it hard to submit those in one email or one fax. And then we don't really know if we have everything. So, one complete hard copy of all documents must be received in our office by 4 p.m. on August 12, 2013. If you are mailing it, it must be mailed to be here by that deadline. Since we scan the documents, please do not use any staples, paper clips, binder clips, etc. Do not bind your request in a folder, binder, or anything else. Please do make sure that all documents are single-sided. I know, it's another tree. When some of the documents are single-sided and some are double-sided, it's easy for us not to scan everything. Just put your entire packet in an envelope and either drop it or mail it to the district office. So, what happens once we get your packet? A cover sheet for each grant is created. Then we scan each request and get them out to the District Strategy Committee. Grants are assigned to primary and secondary readers. The primary reader will contact you. If by the second week of September you have not heard from anyone, please call the district office so we can see if perhaps the email went to spam, the phone message got lost, or what did happen. On October 2nd, the Strategy Committee will have an all-day meeting to review all requests and make their recommendations to the Mission Foundation. No information on their recommendations will be released, as the Mission Foundation has the right to change those recommendations. The Mission Foundation will meet on October 21st to act on the grants. Prior to that meeting, they will have received the minutes from the District Strategy Committee meeting and will have access to the grants. Notifications of the Mission Foundation's decisions will be mailed no later than November 11th. It is very helpful if you wait for that to arrive rather than calling the office, as the letters will include information regarding how the grant will be dispersed, any conditions attached to the grant, etc. Every grant recipient must complete a mid-year evaluation and an end-of-year evaluation. This is where you'll report how close to your goals you came. You'll share information on actual income and expenses related to the project, and we pray you'll have great news to share about individuals making a commitment to Christ as a result of being involved in this ministry. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact the district office. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing the exciting ways you're taking ministry forward in your setting.